I thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Dean.
I thank you, Chairman Issa, Ranking Member Johnson, for holding this important and very interesting hearing. It's also very pleasant to be in the company of this talent and to have us really getting along very, very well because of the subject matter. So thank you, thank you. It's been a real pleasure for me. I know this won't be the last of our hearings. It's really among the first. There's so much to learn. There's so much for me to learn. But we know as lawmakers, we can't wait after widespread societal use to come back and say, what did we do right? What should we have done in advance? We've learned that from other technologies. I want to lay a couple of my biases on the table. I taught for 10 years at a different Philadelphia university. I taught writing, all different levels of writing to students at LaSalle University, and to very much what most of you have said, Mr. Navarro in particular. I always taught my students, yeah, know your craft, understand the mechanics, break the rules when it makes sense, but make sure you place your humanity in whatever you write. That is the genius of what you create, placing humanity in it. My other bias is I'm a copyright holder myself. My son, Harry Canan, and I wrote and published a memoir of his struggles with addiction, our family's struggles with his disease of addiction, but much more importantly, the power and the hope in recovery. We also wrote a children's version of that book, and it was made into an audiobook with the extraordinary generosity of Mr. Paul Williams, writing and producing and performing the background music for our children's book. My son, Pat Canan, is a television writer and movie screenwriter. And so when some of you talk about how long some of this stuff takes to come, I keep saying to Pat, where's the movie? It's years, but maybe we will see his name. He's done real well. I bring those biases to the fore. When I consider what we've seen of generative AI, two questions seem glaringly obvious, so if you'll help me with these. The first is the creation of these models being done in a way that respects the rights and interests of authors, musicians, artists, content creators? To your very point, consent, credit, compensation. If I frame it a different way, is anybody doing this right? Maybe I'll start here with Mr. Sedgwick. Anybody doing it right?
I think that I'm seeing a silver lining on the cloud. Some of the AI platforms are beginning to listen and to adapt their systems to respect rights of authors, or at least they're saying that this is in progress. Okay. There's really two gateways here. There's the gateway to allow works into the databases that are used for ingestion of images into these systems, and then there's also a gateway in terms of the prompts that are entered and also uploading of images as image prompts, copies of our works uploaded by others without our permission as image prompts. Those two gateways are of concern.
And Mr. Navarro and Mr. Irwin, could you offer me your thoughts? Anybody doing this right?
I'm not aware of who's doing it right, but I don't believe that everyone is doing it wrong. I think it's so brand new as that it's the Wild West out there. I think of the earliest days of sampling, when people sampled stuff for records routinely and didn't give credit, compensation, nothing. Now it's routine. Can't Touch This by MC Hammer credits Rick James for Super Freak, and his estate gets compensated. So we're in the process of trying to get it right.
Okay. Mr. Irwin, briefly, if you don't mind, I have one more question to ask.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of anyone doing it right. I think there's starting to be some overtures as to, and inquiries as to, let's get together and talk about it, but at the moment, no, not to my knowledge, no.
Dr. Callison-Birch, in the time I have remaining, I was particularly taken in your testimony by something you said about the impact on labor, on workers. You used the expression, you suggested, will paralegals go the way of the lamplighter? What are the implications for the labor market?
I think this is the large issue that everyone needs to deal with and where Congress can have the most effect. I feel that at the moment we may be on a precipice of mass unemployment. I think the probability is very small, but it's such a dire outcome that you really need to consider some sort of legislation, like in case of emergency, start a new WPA. I think that dealing with this as a copyright issue almost entirely misses the point that these systems are coming, and we've, in America, experienced unemployment as a result of automation before. It's largely affected blue-collar work, but now has the potential to also affect white-collar work as well.
Fascinating. And Mr. Chairman, again, I thank you and I yield back.